Welcome, Matias, and thank you for joining us to give your thoughts as a sector lead at ClearlySo. For those that don't know you, can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do at ClearlySo?
Thanks, Theresa. I've been with ClearlySo for more than 5 years. My role at ClearlySo is essentially end-to-end from origination, and that is finding investment opportunities, to providing investment readiness advisory services, to investment structuring, and to kind of running capital raising campaigns on behalf of our clients, and our clients being the founders and entrepreneurs. And at ClearlySo, I'm heading our activities in the energy and environment sector.
Great. So a lot's been happening over the last few months. If you could just zero in on your sector specifically, what are the big changes that you've seen during lockdown? I know you've spoken about this before, but maybe you could just tell us a bit more about what you've seen.
Yeah, there are many things going on. So in the sense, if you look at kind of a particular company, then there will be like super complexity right there. But I try to generalize it over kind of three sort of aspects of the business. One is their business development and sales cycle. Two is their supply chain. And the third is their customers. So in regards to their business development and sales cycle, and this is including not only sales negotiation, but this includes sending a team to do measurements and to establish baselines, for example, to do project scoping, to do installations, to do training sessions. So as you can imagine, the lockdown essentially put a stop on all of those activities. So fast forward kind of between four months ago and today, I think the situation is still challenging, but it certainly has improved significantly since March, April, as the public in general has accustomed to the new ways of having in-person activities. Installers are ramping up their capacity. PodPoint, for example, an EV charger company, recently reported that home charger installations are back to the pre-COVID levels. And also, I noticed that local authorities and housing associations are back in sales conversations. And also, government subsidized projects such as the Smart City Green Energy System and a number of V2G projects are back online. So that's why I said that it is still challenging, but it has gotten much better. In regards to supply chain, needless to say, during the lockdown, the supply chains are majorly disrupted, and obviously businesses in the energy and environment sector are no exception. They needed to either delay deliveries or to absorb changes in their commercial margins. Now, relatively speaking, I think, again, obviously the situation somewhat recovered from March, April time. Not exactly back to business as usual, but I think the businesses are finding the new normal that the businesses can adapt to. The third aspect is customers. So particularly in the energy environment pipeline, we are seeing early stage businesses that seek to develop disruptive solutions. And these businesses often offer their commercial solutions in the premium market for early adoption. So the needs that they address are often considered non-essential at times where simply maintaining the status quo is challenging. Now, the situation compared to the March-April time has improved significantly, and mainly as businesses started to adapt and government providing relevant incentives. So, for example, businesses are offering service delivery models, energy as a service, for example, with little or no upfront cost. Software-driven businesses are offering free trials. So that's some examples that in terms of the relationship with customers, things are getting better or businesses are adapting. I'm guessing that people would like to hear who is the winner. I think
That is the most often asked question that we get, Matias. Everyone wants to know who's coming out of COVID ready and who's really come out of this period with maybe a deeper learning or a better view on their future possible success.
Right. I think if the question is about like who is the winner during the crisis, it's difficult to tell whether there is a winner, but the whole clean tech sector arguably has retained or even is accelerating its growth momentum due to the crisis. So in a sense, the clean tech sector is a winner out of the crisis. We have heard, for example, UK government policy on post-COVID-19 recovery is driven by clean tech activities. Recently, we heard that they set up the £3 billion green package. with grants for homeowners and public buildings to improve energy efficiency. If you look at the EU, 30% of the 750 billion euros recovery package are earmarked for spending on green and digital transitions. On the private sector, we heard BP even re-evaluating the value of their assets and made a public statement stating that COVID-19 crisis had accelerated the transition towards cleaner forms of energy. Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic nominee, recently announced his $2 trillion climate plan as one of key strategies for creating economic opportunities and jobs. So a lot of buzz and momentum that hopefully the sector can take advantage of.
Yeah, there is. It seems like there's a lot happening. And I think if we were to like zero in on your experience, so you talk to lots of enterprises every day, every week, and you've done so, throughout this period and even obviously well before. But if we kind of look at just the last few weeks as some of the companies are starting to get back to the normal that you described or starting to think about their next step, what's the advice that you have given the most or the most often as you've been talking with those enterprises?
So there are businesses that are obviously fine and the times challenging. So therefore, many companies are considering a bridge round in order to get them through not only the crisis, but also perhaps the second wave. Essentially, they would like to have a runway until beyond 2021. So for those companies, I think it makes sense if they take advantage of the government's future fund support. So if raising convertible note is available for them, that's great. The thing is, indeed, a convertible note is great for existing investors as well as the founders. But I've been telling businesses that on the flip side, a convertible note is not ideal for bringing new investors on board. So essentially, it's great for a bridging round where the businesses are supported by their existing supporters and investors. And for those businesses who feel that the bridge round needs EIS, then my advice would be to focus on the advanced subscription agreement. Again, the plus is great for founder and existing supporters and investors, but the downside is that it's not great for bringing in new investors. Now, having said that, for those businesses who have already had robust runway until mid or late 2021, my advice is for them to allocate some time to have early conversation with investors now. So even if they are thinking of raising investments in Q2 of 2021, my advice is let's talk to investors now, partly because actually investors have the bandwidth to talk to businesses at the moment. And in fact, I've been working with a couple of businesses in this model. So their raise or their closing is somewhere in 2021, but I've been introducing them to a number of investors. And through those conversations, those businesses get direct feedback from investors about what are the important KPIs. And also these businesses can ask the investor like, hey, I have these several business opportunities, which one that I need to focus on in order to position ourselves in the strongest way when we actually kick off the race. So that's my advice, that if you have a good runway, there is an opportunity to actually talk to investors now.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really setting them up for success into that new normal or into the way things will be, depending on what their runway is, or as you said, what kind of decisions they want to make even further into 2021. There's every opportunity to talk with someone today and get some really good advice to see you down the way. I mean, you mentioned investors. So, when you're setting up these meetings with investors, if you were that investor, what would you be excited about from the companies that you're showing them or from your sector in general?
So our focus in this sector has been energy retail, smart energy, smart building, green mobility, energy storage, and waste to value. And to a large extent, the reason that we are focusing on those limited number of subsectors is because those are the subsectors that our investors are excited about. Look, I think clean tech investment have never been for the faint of heart. Obviously, if the investor is simply looking at what happened in the past 4 months, is challenging. But again, those clean tech investors who understand the clean tech sector's growth momentum due to the sentiments that I mentioned earlier, they should see that this is a great opportunity to invest.
That's really interesting, because I think that, the kind of laser focus that you have in your different subsectors could really be a help to some investors who are looking to invest in this sector, to understand maybe what are the better suited options for them or opportunities that are out there. That's really helpful. So looking into those enterprises that you're representing and maybe some that you're looking at working with later this year, What do you think are some of the winning characteristics of those enterprises? What are some of the characteristics that they share, or some of the things that you think will really hold them in good stead going forward?
In the sense, it's not like we have all of the clean tech deals in our pipeline, right? We only have like a small number of it. And in the sense, we have done a lot of a selection process in order to find, in our opinion, in our view, sort of like the winners of the different subsectors. So I think our pipeline looks very attractive to investors because for most of our pipeline, we have businesses with product market fit. So minimal technology risk with demonstrable commercial traction. And of course, needless to say, deals of our energy environment pipeline consist of businesses whose positive social and environmental impact is genuinely in lockstep with their exciting commercial opportunities. And also, deals in our pipeline represent VC market return. So very scalable, exciting return. And the other side of our pipeline, we have early stage deep tech businesses with super rich patentable IP. So if that's the type of deals that investors are looking for, which I believe they should be looking at those type of investment opportunities, we have them.
That was quite a clear picture that you've painted for investors about why the ClearlySo pipeline, as you said, it's really impact in lockstep with market returns. I think that phrase really typifies not just your pipeline but the others that we work with. So that's a really, really great point you've made. So Matias, looking forward to sort of after the summer break, what are some of the events that you're looking forward to in your sector?
Yes, the two events I'm looking forward to attending, hopefully. One is where I will be speaking at World Waste to Energy and Resources Summit on October 6th and 7th. So in the sense, that's one conference in order for us to find investment opportunities as well as investors in the waste to value subsector. The other event that I'm excited about is what is called the Business Booster that is going to take place in Berlin from the 4th and 5th November. It's a big event, essentially one of the mothership event where many early stage, and by early stage, I mean seed to Series A to Series B, clean tech businesses are showcasing their business. Investors are coming to them as well. So that would cover subsectors such as energy retail, smart energy, smart building, green mobility, and energy storage.
Well, there seems to be a lot to look forward to in clean energy and environment, and it sounds in a lot of ways like you're the guy to talk to about some of this stuff. So for enterprises and investors both. So thank you so much, Matias, for sharing your thoughts on your sector, on kind of the wider picture of enterprises and investors that you are in touch with and that you're going to work with throughout this year and beyond. We're going to put your contact details below the video so people can get in touch with you. And we really thank you. And this is just one in our series of conversations with the ClearlySo sector leads to learn more about what they've been up to during lockdown and what they're looking forward to in the autumn.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Theresa.